Okay, we're a little bit late, but we're live, playing in traffic. We do this every Thursday night. We talk about cars, hot rods, gas, lawnmowers, motorcycles, projects. Tonight's going to be a great night. I apologize for the late start. They changed my internet service, and now things decide to not work all of a sudden when you need it the most. So, you know, but Lewis Lee and I are very happy to have Hank Pickering on with us tonight from Backwoodz Kustomwerx. Hank, truthfully, I got to say, I wasn't aware of your site or what you do. Lewis sent me a ton of pictures today, and I was showing them to everybody that I was around at the shop, and they were like, oh my God, who is this guy? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to find out tonight. So,
Yeah, I stay kind of under the cover. I usually stay in the shop, doors closed, beating on metal. So this year I'm finally getting caught up enough where I can kind of make it out a little bit, stretch my legs. But appreciate y'all having me on. Look forward to visiting with all y'all.
oh yeah, listen, this is great. So please introduce, well, Hank Pickering, I just introduced you. Tell us, what you do, where your shop is, and uh, kind of what it is. Because like myself, before today, I didn't know what you did. Now I kind of have a little bit of an idea. But tell us a little bit about what the main thrust of your business is.
My shop's Backwoodz Kustomwerx. It's right here in the heart of Northeast Texas in Wolfe City. And I've been hung a shingle out about 5 years ago. I finally got tired of being tied to a desk. And like everybody else, if you're into cars when you're 8 years old, you're into cars your whole life. So it
Right.
started out as Hot Wheels and then moving on up into other projects and stuff. And finally, I got tired of being in Teams meetings, sitting behind the desk all day. And all that. So if I'm going to open up a shop, let's do it now. Cashed out my 401k, and 5 years ago, I've been doing this ever since.
Wow, that's great.
Uh,
That's a
I,
great success story.
I primarily focus on sheet metal work. I have done some full builds, and I also enjoy wiring. I'm probably going to start getting away from fuller builds and just focus on fab work and wiring. I enjoy it the most.
Okay.
It's more natural. But
That's I gotta say that's a bit of an odd combination because I dabble with some fab small scale, not like what you're doing. A lot of mechanical, and I've always done wiring and electronics. And usually, you don't find any body guys who do electronics. They're the worst. I mean, they know how to screw up the electronics. I had to fix a mistake this week that a guy fixed with Permatex. That was beautiful. Um, so yeah, that's a pretty interesting combination you have going there. What was your background to get you into those
well,
different fields?
I came into the working field back in '96 as an electrician. Started out as residential, didn't like that. Moved up to commercial. Kind of got bored with that. Moved into industrial, and I worked for a rod shop shortly after that for 1 year, and then I had to go back and get a real job again, and started moving into industrial automation. So we're building control panels, stuff like that, VFDs, PLCs, and it really allowed the electrical side of it really allows my OCD to kick in because if you do an electrical job right, nobody can ever see it. If you
Yeah,
do it wrong, everybody sees it.
absolutely.
So, and I love the metalwork side of it because of the complete opposite. It's more of a, it's not a black and white area. It's gray. It's kind of a feel for it. Once you get the feel for it, you can make stuff work, you can shape it, form it, stuff like that. So I guess it's yin and yang, a balance of the two.
Right, right. No, it's like I said, that's definitely a dichotomy, a mix that you don't see often because, well, electrical in general, a lot of guys, I mean, from the most basic stuff, a lot of people would never learned it correctly. And that goes from house wiring, right? I have a buddy has a building a car. His friend helped him, his son helped him put it together, and the son put a complete painless kit in the car. He called me over to do some work on the steering column, which I did. And then I noticed all the wires were coming through the firewall. I said, "Great." I said, when's the electrical going to be done? And he's like, "Oh, I don't do that." He says, the wiring scares me. I was like, "Why?" Because there's so much of it. I said, "There's a lot." I said, "But if this is a tailored kit," I said, "it looks like a lot." I said, "This may be more of a generic kit. There's a lot of it you won't need." I said, "But the beauty of this stuff is every wire is labeled where it goes. I mean, you could almost be a blind man and do this." Um, but he says, "No, no, no. the voltage scares me. I said, you do realize that's only 12 volts? It's like the worst you would do is make a little spark and,
and that's it, blow a fuse.
and that's about it, right? So, but I've seen that in the past. I've heard it many times where guys say, they're afraid of that, and I say, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, you're better off not playing with it if you're not comfortable with it, because as you know, guys can make more trouble and more
Yes.
more problems.
Well, and with those painless kits and American Auto Wire kits, they're so tailored now, especially if you're putting it right into whatever application it's designed for. It's kind of hard to fail in one of those. And even if you're doing a custom harness for a car that has tons of gadgets, poppers, stuff like that, if you draw it out on a piece of paper first, get a game plan before you ever get started, it takes a lot of that mystery out of it. There's enough information out there between. I keep a couple of painless manuals and a couple of American Auto Wire manuals, and then just whatever you have to add. There's enough information out there where if you want to learn how to do it, it's not hard.
You're right. In fact, I'm reaching over here to my part of my library. Where is it? I keep them. Here's another one that I like to keep handy.
Yep.
Because Ron Francis has their tips in there, and I love reading that stuff. And they have diagrams. It reminds me of the old days with Harley Davidsons. I have a couple manuals on the other side. They put together these wiring or just manual. They were all sorts of tips and tricks, and it was drawn out in the most simplest way you could imagine. And that's what I tell people. I said I understand. Many, if not most people, don't understand schematics. In fact, I work at a buddy's shop, and I've done a lot of work on his. I restored a bunch of his cars, and when I pull out the schematics, when I was working, I had access to a plotter, so I would plot them out on e-size paper, so I could really
see them.
Yeah. But still, I would pull out the schematics and the tools, and he'd come in and say, "Whoop, I gotta leave." I'm like, "Why?" And he said, "That stuff scares me." I said, "Come here, let me show you." And he's a body man. I said, here's a schematic of the whole car. I said, let me show you how this is laid out. And this is like in every manual. This side is the front of the car, the headlights and the front lights and the battery. This side all the way over here is the back of the car. And here's the engine, and here's the interior. I said, it really is laid out. I said, the wires are the lines are what is scaring you. So I knew he was never going to really get into it, but I just wanted to show him. Other people who maybe were on the edge, I say to them, don't deal with the schematic. Well, deal with the schematic, but you don't have to work with it. Draw your own to-from diagram, which is what, like you said, what Painless does. It tells you where the wire is coming, where it's coming from and going to and from. And that makes it a lot easier. People can maybe understand that.
Well, another thing is people bite off too much at one time. Those control panels we used to build that have 30,000 terminations in them. And prints that thick on 11 by 17. That seems really intimidating at first. But you just go through there, run one wire at a time, mark with your highlighter, know the next, and before you know it, a couple weeks later, you're done.
Right.
So if you look at the whole picture, it's overwhelming. But it's like eating an elephant, one bite at a time.
You're right. I keep a big glass over here filled with colored pencils because that's what I'm always highlighting. Highlight. I said highlight the schematic. Just break out the circuit you're looking at, and if the wire's red, we'll do it in red pencil, blue, green, whatever. And I get it. It is intimidating for a lot of people. And when I talk to people, I try to encourage them to do it, but I also know when to back off and say, okay, pay somebody. You know what? Pay somebody. I just went through this the other day with friends. It was ironic, just with like 3 different people with house wiring, because I send a lot of stuff out to people that, I just sent one today. There was a picture on Instagram. A guy had like 6 studs stacked up with an electrical box on it. Like, why did he do that? Nobody knows. And then we got around to talking about 3-way switches. Like, oh my God, the mother of all switches. I'm like, it's really not that complicated. And I've actually grabbed off the internet some really simplified diagrams, and I'll send them to people. And they're like, wow, that doesn't look, no, it isn't that bad. Once you see it, you got to see it in a way you can understand it.
Yeah.
So
that's
now,
exactly it. And
yeah, go on.
And everybody learns a different way. Some people you can draw it out for them. They get it right off the bat. And other people, they have to see it. And then after that, they can roll with it. So,
Right. So, I think probably the majority of your work is new builds or fresh builds, correct? Or you are rebuilding, an older vehicle?
yes and no. So a lot of the metal work I do is fresh builds. A lot of the LS swaps I do are stuff people started and they bring in, and they get halfway into it and they go, you know what, I'll move my head on this, and then I'll finish them out. So
Right. Because I end up working on a lot of older. I'm working on one now, 65 Impala. It's an older original car. This car doesn't need any wiring now. I'm doing just mechanical, but dealing with that original wiring and Fords, my God, are the worst. Always gives me the biggest. Like I thought they invented corrosion in their sockets. It must have been put in at the factory, I think. And I'll go in there. My mantra is I would rather use an original, an original used part than a reproduction part. 9 out of 10 times. Some of the repro stuff is great. Some of it isn't. So I'd rather refurb. I'll take those connectors, take them apart. I'll clean them. I've taken pots apart and cleaned the discs on the wafers, and then put it back together, and there you go. Now you at least have an original part. So I wish I could do
especially on sockets and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then there's they make tools to do that. I have a whole arsenal of all sorts of crazy tools, and there's solvents and whatnot you can use. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I would love to do more new stuff, new builds with new wiring, but I don't get the chance too often. So
I usually try to, because that way I'm sending them out the door. I know I've touched every part of it, and you have less opportunity to come back.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, it's either had someone else's hands in there to where it's all jacked up, or rats have been in there.
Yeah.
I try to do full rewires when I have an opportunity.
Right. So I got to say that the metal work that Lewis sent, man, phenomenal. I mean, some just beautiful work you're doing. It's very, very nice. Now, there was one car he sent, and me and my buddy were trying to figure out what it was. It was a side shot. And then we saw it was, I guess, a GTO or Le Mans. We saw the front shot.
No, it's a Triumph Spitfire. And I made a wide body for it and put a 69 Firebird rear lance on it, shrunk it down, and formed it in.
Okay. So, later on in the pictures, I saw the in metal, and I said, "Yeah, that's a Triumph." And then we looked at the next picture. It looks like a Camaro rear end on that car. And so I guess that was. I saw the painted picture. That was the one that's like a dark blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, that was a different one. The dark blue one is a 65 GTO, and we've done tons of metal work on it. We've shaved, tucked bumpers, deleted the front license plate bracket, tons of bead roll work on it. Right. And it's at paint. We get the touch-ups right now. It'll be back in for a little bit of tune. Then he's going to show it out for the first time at the Greenville Car Show. And after that, he's going to try to take it nationwide.
I got to tell you, I do have a 65 GTO that I drive, but it's nice, but it doesn't look like that.
I tell you what, that one-piece window kit was not fun. Hey, Lewis, how are you?
Hello. How's everybody? Sorry, I'm late.
Well, I was just explaining to Hank, I had to apologize. I had a late start because I fire up the computer, which is always rock solid, and my new internet service they sent me, boom, I had no connection. So here I am pulling wires and changing things like an idiot. But
I had some friends come in from out of town, and we went out to dinner, and I looked at the watch. I was like, "Oh no, how'd it go?"
Yeah. That happened. So we're catching up with Hank. He was telling me about his talking about metal work and wiring and everything. And I don't know where to start because the pictures you sent, I was telling Hank that I showed them to a couple different guys. I was in my shop and another guy's shop today. And I was showing them to everybody where I was, and they were all, those were the guys I wanted to send the link to see the show. Because they were like, man, who is this guy and where is he? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, incredible work, man. We love what you sent.
I appreciate it.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm doing what I love, and I'm tickled to death about it. So.
Yeah. So I see in your bio that you left corporate.
Yes, was working. I started out as a panel builder at a place that had a bunch of industrial automation. Then I moved up to installing this stuff out in the field. Then the department lead left, so I started doing his job. Then the engineer left, and I started doing electrical drawings. Before long, I was riding a desk. I was in Teams meetings, working Excel worksheets. Back was hurting all the time. I didn't have any sense of accomplishment. I mean, I was getting a lot done. They loved me, everything I was doing, but I was dead on the inside. So I decided, you know what, if I'm going to make a change, do it now, and jumped out, cashed out my 401k, built the shop, been rolling ever since.
Nice.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah, that's great. It's crazy how fast you can get wrapped up in work. You know, when you got when you got to every day, you know, take care of family and everything. But it's a wonderful feeling to jump ship. I jumped ship 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're loving it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and at first, you know, you're like, before you do it, you're apprehensive. But once you do it, you're staying hooked up, and you know, I was welding on mower decks or whatever I had to at first, you know, just stay busy. But once you're doing it, you're invested, and just roll with it, and it all falls into place. Treat people right, do good work, and you know, people will come back and it's other buddies. So
yeah, yep, it's a wonderful thing. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Lewis, I don't remember you going out for so many dinners before when you were working either. You were kind of staying close to the nest.
Yeah,
that's good.
Some friends that we met out in Arizona, they live real close to me. They live over in Pennsylvania, you know, about an hour away. And they were passing through. So they was like, oh, come meet us. So we ran and met them. But then I was like, oh, we'll probably sit for coffee for, you know, an hour. Man, before I knew it was 8:30. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That means you were having fun.
Yeah, yeah. Good people. Yep.
Oh, that's good.
So Paul sent me your information. He said he wanted to have you on the show. For a lot of stuff we've been talking about, you know, how different states are losing car stuff and changing things. So that's why he really wanted you on. So we'll get him on now. Or Ray, do you have any more questions for him?
We'll go as we go. I'm sure I'll I'll have more. That's okay.
Okay. So we'll get Paul on and the rest of the fellas. Paul's getting a snack, I see.
He's out to lunch.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Good.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Papa Squirrel.
Papa Squirrel.
So these are our every week family members, and so they're gonna grill you on some stuff too.
Go ahead. I'll turn my earbuds off. It gets too thick.
Yeah. So hey guys, did you see some of the work that Hank's done? Beautiful metal work.
Yeah. I just started. I glanced over. I just got done. We had a emergency town hall meeting. We had so I've been on along with, like you said, with that corporate stuff there. We'll have to wait till the after hours to get me all fired up because
sounds good.
You know how that goes. But you know, like I said, I started looking at some of the stuff. It's really good stuff. It's funny. You know, my dad had a huge woodworking shop, and he was one of those guys, and he would go down, and I never understood it as a kid, you know, because he would go down and you would smell the wood being cut and drilling and banging and saws going, but nothing ever came out of the garage, you know. He was relieving pressure and his tension, just making sawdust. And I started doing the same thing because I love playing with metal and metal work, welding, drilling, cutting. And I've done a lot of making metal shavings and haven't made anything yet. So I just hope I can get to the next step and, like you, get actually something done, you know. So, but I'm working on that. But it's relieving the tension.
How you get good at metal work is at first your scrap pile starts out this big, and over time your scrap pile gets smaller. And before you know it, you have almost no scrap pile.
My secret is I use my scrap pile to build more stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Smaller. But yeah, I don't throw anything away. Yeah.
So that's it.
So how is everybody tonight?
Great.
Just
great.
fun-filled and exciting.
We're all here.
Yeah, still upright.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing. That's a real
What?
good thing.
Yep.
So I listened to if you don't mind me speaking here for a second, Lewis.
No, you go.
I heard the introduction of Hank. How you doing, Hank?
Doing well. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing well. So, um, Lewis, I approached you the other day and asked you to have Hank come on.
Mhm.
And Hank, you and I really don't know each other, do we?
No, we've talked a couple of times on the phone, and we know some of the same circles, and we're not too far apart, probably about an hour and a half.
Okay, so yeah, we're about an hour away from each other. We kind of live in the same circle of cars and car guys and know some of the same people and whatnot.
Right.
And yes, you are a very talented craftsman, and it's rare that those words come out of my mouth to anybody.
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
so you are very talented. The reason I asked and stuck my neck out, because again, I don't stick my Lewis, you know, I don't stick my neck out for anybody.
Right.
So I approached Lewis and asked you to come on because of your little quick. I don't want to use the wrong word here, but I'm sure it's gonna come out the wrong way somehow. Your rant was on point, and that rant, your words have traveled, and there's a lot of people that are hearing it and understand it. But like you say, you and I are an hour away from each other, but we don't play in the same circle, even though we have the same interests.
So,
Yes,
Paul,
Texas,
excuse
Texas
me,
is.
for those of us who don't know, where was this rant publicized so that we might find it?
Oh,
It was on
okay.
Facebook.
It was
Okay.
on Facebook, and I believe I put it in the messenger chat, didn't I, Lewis?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think you did.
Do you, Hank, are you comfortable rehashing the rant so we can all?
Yes, please
Uh,
do.
yeah, definitely. So I was sitting here thinking, I was driving down the road, and that's where I do my good thinking. It's running to the parks house. That when I'm sleeping. And I was thinking about how the car scene, originated in SoCal. Southern California, Bakersfield, all down in that area, and how all of the U.S. pretty much followed the direction of SoCal, starting from the 40s on up to just not too awfully long ago. And then I started thinking of all the innovation I've seen in Dallas, Houston, all the rural areas out this way, how there's cruise-ins everywhere down here now. There's cars and coffees everywhere. There's a show every weekend. And I started thinking, well, we're kind of starting to surpass SoCal because when I used to travel a lot, I'd be over there, I'd be in Commerce City and other areas, and I was able to check out the Grand National Roadster Show one trip. But you hardly ever see any vintage cars driving down the road anymore. You hardly see any of them piled up, visiting, just hanging out, like at a Sonic or anything like that.
So,
And I started wondering why. And I started thinking, well, I bet you a lot of it's due to regulation. I've got a friend that's trying to build a 38 out there, and he was going to bleed the windshield wipers. They said, you'll never be able to get registered. And the smog, all the smog regulations, stuff like that, you're just not able to build a true hot rod or custom as they have been in the past out there with all the regulations. And then another issue is economics. The cost of living continues to rise out there, whereas we're beginning to get more and more industry due to lack of regulation. So we have the people from out of state moving out here, and they're bringing their hobbies with them, and the people from here that would have been into it before, now they have more disposable income. And then there's also demographics. So there's people still out on the West Coast, they're into cars, but they're an older generation. The younger folks out there are not getting into it. Whereas I'm seeing a lot of the younger folks here now, they're getting into those Carolina squat trucks and stuff like that, but they're still into cars. And I really believe that Texas is going to surpass SoCal as far as being the hot rod custom capital in the U.S.
Yeah.
So that's That's pretty much what I threw out.
You know, it's a real interesting thought, and I think
Let me pause you right there for a second. I don't mean to cut you off. You know, I am usually rude to do this stuff, but I apologize on this one. Lewis or Hank, Lewis has been and camped out here at my campus. So Lewis, you do understand the demographics, the layout of the land. You travel, you saw Sulphur Springs. So
Right.
I'm gonna ask you what your opinion is of our area with Hank saying, hey, Texas can be the capital of all this custom car because we still have the enthusiasm. We don't have the regulations, therefore you continue to see stuff being built. Where's your take on that? Because you have seen this area, you have seen car shows throughout the entire United States.
Right.
You know the high-end players and you know the local Dairy Queen guys. So have at it, Lewis, for a second, because
So I've noticed, excuse me, I've noticed there's a lot more builders coming out of Texas than they are California in the last 10 years.
names, yes.
So you have to look at, for example, Jesse James. You know, he left California, he went to Texas,
Left California,
and he's
came to Texas.
right. He started. You can see the happiness in Jesse James' face and his moods just by moving to Texas. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know,
You knew me before I moved to Texas. You know me in Texas. Do you
right.
see the same change in me?
no, you're
Yeah.
still a miserable bastard.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
Right. I mean, you can see the move towards Texas. And you're starting to see with the internet, you're seeing a lot more videos come out of Texas, social media. You're seeing all of it come out. You got the Martin brothers, you know, you got endless people coming out of Texas now, and they're stepping up strong. You know, and you're not seeing a lot out of California. You know, you still got the Chip Fooses over there. You still got, you know, those type of
Well,
guys.
even Chip is leaving California.
Right.
You know, I gotta say, the elephant in the room is California politics. I mean,
Exactly.
they're regulating everything. I mean, we could go down the list, and they're just forcing people to leave like crazy. And for a year now, I've been watching the real estate market because I'm looking to relocate, and they're saying, yeah, everybody from California predominantly are going to Texas.
And Tennessee.
And Tennessee is another big one.
Okay, Ray, you're in the Northeast.
Yeah, New York. Yes.
I'm from the Mid-Atlantic, just south of you, and I'm going to say the Mid-Atlantic car culture was stronger than Southern California. After all the things I've seen, maybe I'm a little biased because I grew up in the area, but the custom car world, the hot rod world, the enthusiasm, I saw it stronger than what I saw in California.
All right.
What do you see about New York and Long Island area, where I know the higher end cars, especially when I was doing all the Lamborghinis and that kind of stuff? Yeah, a lot of our clients were on Long Island.
Yeah, there are still a lot of people and new people cropping up. I can't weigh it. I can't say more here, more there, and I wouldn't even want to do that because I don't think it's a contest. I'm just happy to see it happening anywhere it can happen because, like Hank said, when he mentioned the older guys, that's us. I mean, we are that older demographic. I'm
And if I can interrupt, it's up to us to bring the younger people in. It's up to us not to shrug them off if they're asking questions, about our car. It's up to us to allow them to jump in and fire it up and start it. If they're walking down the street and they peek in the garage, to draw them in and say, here, why don't you take this off for me? And that's how we get the younger crowd in. And that's also how we stop that street takeover nonsense. Because those guys are in the cars. They're knuckleheads, but they're in the cars. But they don't have anybody there to get them hands-on, greasy, dirty. working on something, or else they wouldn't be out there doing that. They'd be in the shop tearing something apart.
You know, one of the favorite stories I have personally is, I do a radio show, and it was 20 years ago. We had this, I saw these guys at a show called the Exceeding Limits Truck Club, and they were building Loves and Rangers and small pickups. I mean, they were doing body drops, chassis drops, highly modifying, putting T-Bird dashboards, 57 T-Bird dashboards in these trucks, wild custom stuff. And nobody would let them into a car show because they said, we don't want those tuner cars in here. And they're like, what? These are all American trucks, you idiots. So I got them on the show, and I had done a car show at the time. So I asked them, they wanted to learn how to run a car show. I said, okay, I do a show every year. You come to the show and you bring me muscle. I need people, and I'll have my guys will all sit with you in a round robin, and we'll show you how to run a gate, how to do t-shirt sales, how to put cars in, how to judge the whole thing. And we did that for 5 years with these guys. So one year on the show, probably the first year, my co-host asked them, he said, gee, you guys are building all these crazy trucks and putting a lot of money into them. Why aren't you building cars? And he said, the one guy turned, he says, listen, we'd love to build muscle cars, but you guys have them all and you're not letting them go. And if you are, they're for money that we can't afford. So we're building what we can afford. And the light went off on my head. The gong sounded so strong. I said, that's how I grew up. I couldn't afford a new car, so I had to buy a piece of crap and build it. And every car I've had since then, I had to build, and I still do. And I said, these guys are doing exactly what we did, just with different material. And we embraced them and said, this is what we have to do. You know,
well, that's what's available. That's what's
exactly.
available.
You build what you can afford.
With the exception of a Yugo, please, nobody do a Yugo.
Then again, Bill, I did see a guy take a Chevette and put a blown big block in it, so I got to give that one a nod. It was
okay, I'm for that, but no Yugos.
No.
An Omni GLH, I'd take one in a heartbeat.
Yeah. There you go. So so you're right, and you know, I'm redoing a car now for a couple of guys. Their dad passed away, and they want to get the car going. And I just sent them a note today because I'm ready to deliver it. And I said, listen, we're going to have a long talk before you take this car, because I'm driving it today, and I grew up driving 50s and 60s cars. So, you know, it doesn't bother me. But these kids grew up with, you know, fuel injection, four-wheel disc brakes, McPherson strut suspensions,
air conditioning,
rack and pinions. Right. Yeah, and I said, they don't know a carbureted four-wheel drum 65 Chevy that you got to do this with when you're driving. And I said, and I told him, I said, we're going to have a long talk before you take this car, because I think we're going to take some driving lessons, and I'm going to have to show you.
Yeah, ride with him a little bit.
And he said, yeah. He goes, I'm looking forward to that. And again, you got to extend that olive branch wherever you can, and you have to hope that it comes back positive, and then you've done your job. So.
Yeah, and it's the more younger folks we can get into it, the more we can keep it alive, and the less car-related knuckleheadness that will be out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Those car takeovers are really bad, man. There's people getting hurt.
All right, so Brian, we're going to have to relate back to the Mid-Atlantic area where you are familiar with it. There's been a bunch of that shit going on around you.
Oh, yeah, it's weekly here. It's weekly.
Yes, but I'm going to go back to the late 70s through the 80s into the 90s. It was a weekly thing to gather over at Ardmore Ardwick Road and go racing at the Metro, that strip of there, or to go drag racing on 214 at 301.
Yeah, there were
29 and 216 was that grade park and ride, and we'd race there.
Yeah, there was a lot of places, and I mean, it was a lot. And actually, you know, it's funny because, you know, you look back, and I remember, you know, we all knew the cops knew us, and it was a different time period. And unfortunately, you know, it was a great time, and it was actually scary, because they would tell you if they didn't know where you were, then you were really up to trouble. If they knew where you were, you weren't up to trouble. Yeah. You know, they saw that type of thing. And, you know, I just think a lot of it lot of it is unfortunately it's the economics also and politics. Here where I am, I'm 30 miles from ground zero, from Washington D.C., and you can't fart without being regulated and fined for something here, you
Right.
know. And I had a customer that got pulled over, and of course I know that this is going to sound, there's, you know, right and wrong, and when you dance with the devil, you're going and you get bit, you get bit again, you're going to get in trouble. I mean, you're going to have costs and play, and that's we choose that. But you know, I had a customer got nailed for tenant windows. You know, I mean, it was tenant windows, front, and all that stuff. And you know, they go pull it off, they get the inspection, they go right back down, they put the tent back on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then they get caught again, and now it's serious. Now you got a court date, you got this, you got, you know, the whole 9 yards, and you can't be mad when you're dancing with the devil that way.
No.
And you know, trust me, I think it's ridiculous that they spend the effort to make that priority instead of taking care of other things around here. But you know, again, we're not trashing the system. It's just that, like you said, we need people to I don't want to say leadership, but you need to coach and teach and
Need some organization.
Yeah, you need better organization. You know, like I said, I sell tools. Okay, I'm a tool guy. I sell tools, and I've had kids, younger guys, they're building something. They come out, and I say, hey, what are you doing? They tell me, and I was like, no, this is what you need to do, or this is how you need to do it, or whatever. They just don't get that proper training, teaching. And, you know, again, it's hard. Some old guys said, hey, I had to learn the hard way. I'm not going to teach anything.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's
not right.
We're not going to.
I had to learn the hard way. I had to make the investment into the tools that I have. We've had the discussion before. How does somebody entering the field, you know, even begin to afford some tools?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy now.
Okay.
Like I said, the economic part.
Going back to when I started in the workforce doing electrical work, as an apprentice, we would carry our journeyman's tools to and from. We'd get the job site set up while he's drinking coffee. And then he saw that initiative that we were taking, then he would throw knowledge at us as much as we could absorb. And now, mind you, we don't need to hand anything out. We need to, we can bring someone in the shop and they're trying, we need to keep throwing knowledge at them, let them fail and correct them where they fail. Don't beat them down, show them how, and then build them back up. But if we got some of these folks wanting to get into the trades, whether it's building hot rods or construction, whatever else, you know, that's dying out. Everybody wants to play on computers all day long. Nobody wants to get out and work. But if we don't start passing that knowledge on, it won't be there. So it's kind of our obligation.
You know, we saw that a long time ago. We call it driver's seat diagnostics. Guys want to get in with a scanner and find the problem, and then have someone else. What do you mean? You want me to change that water pump? You want me to change that you know, the cat? Oh, I don't have tools, so I'm going to get dirty. I've literally heard and seen this in shops. And
Crazy.
I don't know where these guys are getting trained. Maybe they're getting tainted there to think they're at a higher level than a guy who has a wrench, because they seem to feel, now not all, but many of them seem to feel they're kind of above that and they don't have to do that kind of work.
Well, it's true. No, to a point. And like I said, I see this all the time. And of course, you know, you end up polarizing both sides, because, you know, a shop owner will hire somebody and the guy shows that he wants to learn. And as soon as he learns just enough to get himself in trouble, he quits you and wants to go open his own shop. Because
You can't be mad at that.
No, you can't. But his first reaction is because you don't pay me enough.
Yeah.
So he, you know, and that's the problem. And they don't understand. And it's a different time frame. It's a different structure. And it's a different time that we grew up, that you have to do your time and learn. I deal with this with a lot of kids. I try to tell them, you haven't finished investing in yourself yet to do this. It's great to work for this, but they take the stuff, they run, and then the next guy comes along. The shop owner says, "I'm not doing this. I'm not going to tell them anything." And that's why then this guy struggles. He's out in 6 months, and he's gone. He's a Uber driver now.
But then, Brian, just to back up, so then the shop owner is biting himself in the ass, because if he's not going to,
right?
I mean, so it's propagating just bad circles.
It's a bad circle, and and like I said, I try. Or when you get to a point, it's a lot of, hate to say it, but patience.
Mm-hmm.
But the learning curve, and it's just the way these new guys are, the group, and it's a different work ethic than what we had. Because I see that with my kids. There's nothing wrong with what my kids do. It's just a different work ethics, and they expect. And I know for a fact, because we have Lincoln Tech up here, and I got kids that come out of that, and they tell me right off the bat, "Oh, I was supposed to make $100,000," and I said, "Look, dude, back in the day, I worked day and night, and I worked like a dog." And I had to turn the hours to make the money, to make that kind of money. You're not going to come out of school making $100,000, but that's what they advertise.
I know I told this story before. We had when I was working at a local college, we had workforce development, and we had this class come in. They wanted me to teach it, but I couldn't because I was already working another class, and it was all about just measurement. Apparently there was a local manufacturer out by where Jim lives, and they were hiring QA, QC inspectors. So these people had to be able to check parts, spot check parts, and taking measurements with either a vernier caliper or micrometer, depth gauge, whatever it was. And so they polled the local high schools, and they got a group of kids in. So I actually was the tech in the class. I supplied all the measuring tools, because they didn't. I said, I knew the guy teaching the class. I'm like, well, where'd you get all the stuff from? He goes, I don't have anything. I said, they didn't give you anything? And then I backtracked, talked to my chairperson. He says, yeah, I thought he was going to bring it. Can you help him out? Yeah. So I brought him. So regardless, the kids were doing mostly stuff on paper. Of course, it's all decimal to fractional conversions and all. They didn't even get into metric. It was all American. And I'm looking at this group of kids, and it was a ragtag group from the high schools, and I ended up talking to a couple of them and said, hey, what are you guys hoping to get out of this? Oh, they told us we're going to start at like $70,000 a year doing this. I'm like, really? And I'm looking at I actually officiated some of their quizzes and tests. These kids couldn't do basic math, and they definitely didn't have mastery of decimal to fractional conversion. They had no idea what an eighth or what the difference between an eighth or 7/8 was, just to make
the funniest deal I ever dealt with in a shop with a younger guy. And then it was when I was working in the high-end exotic car shop over in Northern Virginia. And it had to do with a Freon air conditioning service.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on an Italian car, and it was written in metric. It was so many kilos of Freon. And for over an hour, he was stuck. This is many years ago when you couldn't just go to Google and ask for a conversion.
Yeah.
He was stuck, and he finally said, how many pounds in a kilo? And there was like 5 people in the shop who all instantly answered 2.2.
Yeah.
And then he looked at all of us like, how do you all know that?
Because we have a good cocaine dealer. That's the reason why we know that.
Yeah. I've always told guys, especially younger guys, look, they see me. I said, you see me go into my cabinet, taking out a motor's manual. I said, you should look through one of those. You'd be surprised what's in the back section of that book. You will be amazed. The conversion charts and the stuff that you don't need to know that. You don't have to remember stuff. Right. Look it up. As long as you know where to find it, that's knowledge. And
Again, speaking of the book, and it was a motor's manual. It's a blue book. It was a 1972 motor's manual. There's a procedure in that book that you can't find on Google or anywhere else I've been able to find. And I've never had the book fail to open.
right.
So I got a cabinet down in the garage of old reference material.
Oh yeah.
But one of those books that I got in there is my old mechanical engineering first year, second year mechanical engineering book that has all that stuff in it with conversions
Yep.
and shear loads
Doesn't change.
and tensile strengths and what will hold and what won't hold at 70 miles an hour through a turn. Because you have to know these things if you just want to build a car from scratch. And that's another thing we're lacking is there's no enthusiasm to just build something from nothing.
Yeah.
Hank, I give you a lot of credit. You built something from nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I got is nothing.
Hey, when you got nothing, the only way you can go is up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's going on something else, not building something for nothing. I think a lot of that's people are scared to fail. Once you're scared to fail, you're setting limits.
Yeah.
You have to go out there knowing that you will fail. No matter what you're doing, whether it be metal work, opening the business, whatever else, you're going to fail. But you learn from your failures, and then you build from that. So.
You know, my take on that is age is the great equalizer. I find it as I've, thank God, have gotten older. It doesn't even faze me to tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I do wrong before I tell you what I did right. You know, because sometimes it helps somebody do it right, and it's just really just fun to talk about. So,
well, as you're a young man, you're ashamed of your failures.
Yeah, you want
to
be.
Begin to age. You're like, hey, look what I just messed up, and look how I fixed it.
Right.
So.
You want to be. You want to be good. You want to be better. You don't want to be looked at as subpar. Yeah, and I was probably the same way when I was younger. I'm sure I didn't confess to a lot of stuff. I just went to this shop today. We got a car from them, and the guy. It was a 2.8 Oldsmobile, and all the vacuum hoses that go in it, I guess it was a vacuum leak, and they gooped them up with gray Permatex, not even cleanly. And the problem I found was the hose was off the EGR valve, so there was your vacuum leak. But the owner saw it and hated it, so brought it to us. So they kick it to me. I peel all the Permatex off, and I was able to seat the hoses differently and then check it with some spray. I didn't have a vacuum leak. So I went to that shop today because I had to get some tires done. And I asked one of my buddies, I said, I showed him my phone. I said, you know this car? I said, who worked on it? He goes, I don't know. I showed him the pictures. He's like, oh my God, that's terrible. I said, yeah, it came from here and came to us. And I said, I want to know who did this. He goes, well, it wasn't me. I said, I didn't think it was you because you're a good man. Because then again, if I did do it, I probably wouldn't tell you. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'd get it out of you anyway. Because so I never did find out who did it, but I wanted to give them the.
Well, hopefully they found out they did it.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, God knows what they charged them for that too. I can't imagine. But yeah, you see all sorts of crazy stuff. So Brian, yeah, today I brought your name up. I was in that shop, and the new Snap-on guy showed up, and I haven't met him yet. He took the place of the guy we had before, and I guess he's Russian. I think his name was Sven. I don't know, some kind of Russian name, or he's Ukrainian. I don't know. Yeah, somewhere over there. So I heard of him before. They said he was a nice guy. So I asked him, you know, he's been in business like 5 years. I said, you know, I got a good buddy who's a Matco man down in Maryland. I said, been in the business a long time. But we are the top dealer in every area. I was like, oh, is that how it's going to go? I said, really? I said, dude, you want me on that truck? I said, we're going to have to talk. It's like, I said, or I'm going to get Brian on the phone. I said,
yeah, they're all top dealers already.
I probably won't be seeing that guy much of any time soon. Not with an attitude like that. Sorry. No time for it.
No time.
Yeah.
So Hank, what is one of the big projects you're working on right now?
So the biggest one, and it's not in the shop right now, is the GTO. It's at paint, get touch-ups. It's going to come back. I've got some transmission codes I got to clear and a little bit of fine-tuning stuff. But that's going to be outdoor for long. That's been a project we've been working on about a year and a half.
What your
white car-
GTO is it?
65.
Oh,
So 65 LS swap, 6.0, 480. We back halved it 2 inches, mini tubbed it, but we mini tubbed it to where we used the stock part of the tubs and just stretched them in. So when you pop the rear deck lid, you can't tell that it's been mini tubbed other than look like it looks a little fatty. So did a whole bunch of metal work on it, custom wiring, all kinds of stuff. But that one's going to be hitting the scene here before long. This white one behind me, I've got a couple of 16-year-olds helping me. We're building that one for a raffle for our car show in October. That Impala right there,
Yeah.
it was one of those where it got taken to another shop, butchered it all up, and he brought it over, rewired it, had a bad tune in it, got a good tune in it, all kinds of stuff. But it's about to be leaving. That 28 right there, doing a bunch of metal work on it.
Yeah, those rear window
Under the dash.
panels are beautiful. Yeah, I saw Lewis sent a picture of that. That is really nice.
Yeah.
If that was mine, I probably wouldn't have covered it, but he wanted to cover it with something. He was real adamant about it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's like, I want it to say 38, and I want it to have a bow tie because nobody knows what it is, and I'm tired of them asking me.
Right.
So we threw that on there. It turned out really nice. It actually took me 3 different layouts in metal before I found something I liked. I tried kind of a couple of boxy letters and stuff like that, but it just didn't fit that kind of Art Deco look of the car. So that first of 1938 really tied in.
Lewis, can you put up some of the pictures that you sent so we can all drool over them?
Yeah, let me see here.
The work is just phenomenal. I mean, just it's like, Lewis, reminding me of like leather working and when you do your your fine line and etching.
Yeah, tooling.
That's what it reminded me of. Very nice. Talk about Jesse James.
Right. So he sent them to me on my phone. So I gotta move them over here. Let me see.
Yeah, I have them on my phone too, or I do the same thing.
So to bring back the subject of the local car culture and how Texas is expanding outward, and I'm thinking about it, and let's draw a 100-mile radius from where your shop is, because you're about 50 miles from me, so I'm about 50 miles away from you, so I'll 50 miles all the way around you. I can think of a dozen or more shops that claim to be hot rod shops of some kind, if not more. And I am seeing the culture with everyone coming in growing. What I don't see is the cliquish networking that zip code cruisers would be a better way of putting it. Is people from Sulphur Springs don't go to Wolfe City, or not too many.
Not for the most part, and not unless we have a show or something like that. And now the smaller communities, they all really support each other. We have, saying if Wolfe City, the sprawling metropolis of Wolfe City is the hub. We have tons of people from Bonham coming in, and Leonard and Greenville and Commerce. But there is a little bit of a cliquish thing going on. There's a little bit of a cliquish thing with some of the car clubs, to where they only go to certain towns and certain events. But there's a bunch of just freelance car guys and hot rod guys that just kind of do their own thing too. So,
I hope, Paul, to your point, I hope that if Texas is taking the lead, if they are indeed in the lead, that's great. It's all America, man. I don't care who.
Well,
I don't care who has the title, really.
This is the direction I was going with that. But go ahead. You might be able to finish it for me.
What I'm hoping to see then is that the groups in Texas will be cohesive and take up and fight the legislation and fight what's happening in the rest of it. Because I mean, listen, I'm a big 2A advocate, and I'm a member of multiple advocacy groups, and these guys fight every little piece of legislation that comes up, no matter what state it's in, and that's what they have to do. You have to keep it real, because the splinter groups and the nuts, like what's happening now with this last election that happened yesterday, they're taking over. I mean, not to get political, but it's not even the far extreme of the party. It's like an alien group that's now taken over, and the rest of the party saying, "Hey, where the hell did they come from?" But they're winning elections, and they got to be stopped. So I hope that Texas leads the charge. Remember the Alamo.
Yeah.
I hope so too. We're real easygoing. We're some of the most friendly people you'll ever meet, but we don't take real well to getting pushed. So hopefully everybody will
Yeah. Good.
kind of stick up for the guns when we need to.
I will definitely.
And you're all, everyone's leery about an outsider.
Yes.
You don't like
You know,
outsiders.
I've been in Wolfe City for 22 years now, so I'm still a new guy.
Okay. But where I was going with that is, Hank, how many people show up at Cars and Coffee Rockwall? 100? 70 to
Yeah,
100?
tons. Yeah,
70 to
Yeah.
100. Brian,
every bit of
how
it.
many show up at the Cars and Coffee for Mike and Mel's?
Oh, over 1,000.
Wow, that many?
Wow.
That's a lot.
It's a lot
That
of
is a lot.
cars. Because that goes
Down.
out through the parking lot and down through the all around. Even on a good day, you know, Burtonsville can have a lot of cars. They can have over 100 cars.
Well, I was gonna use the Holy Donut Church of the Holy Donut scenario because I think that would have been a better comparison. But I wanted to go with the extreme one that's 3 miles away. So yes, 1,000 cars will show up for a Cars and Coffee with minimal to zero problems. Now,
Well,
the population of the area where Mike and Mel's is, Maple Lawn, that whole area, what, maybe 100,000 people?
If not more. I don't know. I'm not real good with that, Paul.
Okay,
We're talking about hypotheticals or maybes. Hey, look, all I know is we got to keep to us. We all have to keep to a certain level of teaching and passing it on.
Yeah.
And the only problem with Mikey's and Mel's, hey, I love that car show. I love going to that car show. But personally, I don't want to see 35 Lambos up there. I mean, it's a different, you're without a problem because it's a whole different crowd.
Yeah.
But it's still, my point is it exists. These people are coming together.
I think it's funny though when the guy that has 5 or 6 Lambos and a Ferrari and all this stuff, and I love when he starts talking about his 65 Impala, and he would have brought it, but it wasn't comfortable. And I can't even imagine it being comfortable climbing in and out of a Lambo.
So
start.
It was like
The
two.
65 Impala wouldn't start.
So it was like what was it, 2-3 months ago? I did the inspection on that guy's 85 930, who also had the Countach and the Lambo and the F40 and all. And he told me very proudly that he brings all of his exotics. We have a thing at a mall, a cruise at a mall every Sunday that must have, I've never been to it because I can't go because of the show, but hundreds of cars. I don't know, is it 300, 500, 700? It's a mall parking lot and they say it's packed. And he says he brings a different one of his exotics. And he says, and the guys are so tired of seeing me because I bring all these cars and they think that I'm borrowing them. It's like he's getting off on bringing his exotic cars and having guys being pissed off at him. I was like, all right, there's no way around that, Paul. I mean, these guys are always going to be there. But like Brian said,
my point was, I've experienced this and I've seen it. You'll get 1,000 cars at Mikey and Mel's. You'll get 300 to 500 cars at Church of the Holy Donut. Google that one day, Hank. Church of the Holy Donut.
Yeah.
It's legitimate. So, several hundred cars in a small populated area. Now, percentage-wise, there's no reason we shouldn't be doing the exact same thing. But you'll get 30 cars here, 30 cars here, 30 cars there, 30 cars there, because nobody wants to leave the immediate zip code.
Is that what you
But
think
I
the
can't.
problem is, Paul? People don't want to branch out.
That may have a
That's-
little bit to do with it, and I know, and it may be a culture type thing. I know I probably wouldn't go to a place with 1,000 cars. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to really visit with anybody. There's too much going on. It'd be kind of sensory overload. I'd be more comfortable at a place from anywhere from 5 to 100 cars. So, and just kind of hanging out and shooting the bull with whoever I run across.
I went to a cruise
So
night
it may be.
I went to a cruise night 2 weeks ago, and there was like maybe 20 cars, top 15, 20 cars, and it was kind of, you know, it was kind of close. It was kind of nice to get to know everybody. But, yeah, I don't know.
And there is, like Paul was saying, there is tons of
Yeah,
different events all the time. And at within 30-mile drive, there will always be at least 2 different events going on at the same time.
all right, Hank. Time to talk up the pictures.
So that's the rear window delete on Bobby Wake's 1938 Chevrolet sedan. He was wanting something to kind of fill the window. And after a couple of renditions, came out with that, threw it in the wheel, kind of got a radius on it, uh, put it up there, scrubbed around where we cut out the inner radius from where the window was, rolled out the 38 and the Chevrolet sign on the bead roller, slapped it up there. Now it's full welded in on both sides. Doing some other cool stuff. You're going to kind of stay tuned on that, but we're going to be putting in one of those big fancy backup camera type LCD radios in the front, and under the dash brake booster, so he has a nice clean firewall and all kinds of trick stuff. So y'all be seeing that before long.
Nice.
How are you finding parts availability? I've had a lot of trouble on and off, even with regular cars.
The stuff that I get is typically either going to be older type parts through like Speedway or Summit, someone like that, or through different manufacturers, plastic industries. And then the newer stuff is primarily going to be, stuff for 350s or stuff for LS swaps. I haven't had too many of issues. There have been some times I had to get a crank sensor for a LS, and it was through Tech, which I won't use again. They specified a particular crank sensor, which I could not find short of a 2-week lead time. And
I need that for
was a little bit nightmare.
I need that for
Do
my
what?
garage. I need that to put on my garage
sorry?
door.
For your garage?
Yeah, can you make me one?
Yeah. Yeah, I can make you one.
I mean, I got one that's about
that-
a foot wide, but that thing is cool as hell.
Now, that's in
That
the
was
in the
actually
trunk, right?
Yeah. So that's in the trunk area. We surrounded the whole inside of the trunk with beadroll stuff, put the framework for it, painted it black, had pinstripe blue all the way around to make it really pop. And we did around the trunk and the bottom of the rear deck lid and the inside of the hood. Did an engine cover also. I don't think I sent y'all pictures of that. But then later on, probably this winter, once it gets done kind of making the scenes, we're going to finish up the engine cover. But I love bead rolling. That's probably my favorite aspect. I like beating on metal and shaping metal. And people come up to me, I can't find this part. Can you make it? And I'll be like, well, it's on the workbench over there. Let me think about it. And I'll look at it for a couple of days and come up with a way to make it. But bead rolling, I love it.
You're excellent at it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. There's a bunch of good masters out there who I've watched how they've done stuff. Blue J. Murphy, Kenny Murphy, some of them, and they don't know it. Just when they post stuff, everybody's able to pick up on just a little bit. And I'm in a couple of Facebook groups. If anybody is hung up on anything or trying to figure out how to do something, I do my best to kind of share the knowledge.
Yeah.
That's the firewall of my old Model A. It's a turd, but I love it.
Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, Hank.
Yes, sir.
If it's a trade secret or one of your special little situations, just say, I'd rather not come.
I don't have any trade secrets. I share my knowledge as free as I can.
When you go to work with the piece of metal and you've already, make sure you and I are on the same page. I understand shape and I understand form. Form
Right.
is the form, piece of paper. Shape is once you stretch or shrink. So once you've added some shape into it, and then you go to do your bead roll, are you doing an additional stretch around what you're getting ready to roll before you do your roll?
It, that's kind of like asking how long is a piece of string. So you got to look at the metal and anticipate what the metal is going to do. And that's not something you can put down on paper or you can read a book to say, I need to pre-stretch this before I do it. Or I can go ahead and roll it out and just kind of stomp on it with my foot a couple of times and flatten it out. And that's, I can't tell you unless I'm looking at the piece I'm working. And then I look at it and go, okay, I better go ahead and kind of stretch that out a little bit, put it in the wheel because it's going to really try to oil can on me or something. Or I can look at that and go, you know what? I can throw this speed, and this speed in the world, and it's going to come out all jacked up, but all I got to do is flatten it out and it'll retain its shape. It also depends on where it's going. If it's going to be a small square panel on like a console that you're going to be welding into something with a couple of tank rolls on it, then if it's a little bit out, as you kind of clamp that down and look at it, it'll take it out. But if it's something that's on like a real quarter of something and you're adding some rolls, yeah, you got to kind of shape it a little bit to get it to do what you want to do and to have that memory of staying there after you roll it. So I can't tell you unless I'm looking at the piece, and it's not something I can put on paper. So it's all by feel.
Do you have both a plenishing hammer and a wheel, or are you primarily a wheel?
Wheel, plenishing hammer, beater bag, some nylon hammers, tons of bodies and dollies, anvil, going back to the foreman, anvil, railroad ties, a bunch of stuff I've made out of pipe and sockets for whatever my need was at the time, all the way out to oak tree out in the front yard if I needed.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny when you're doing something and you take something very odd off the floor or shelf, and
that's it right there. That's perfect.
And you're just like, man, that's like I said, I play. I'm nowhere near. I wouldn't even show anybody what I do. You know what I'm saying? I just like the process, I guess, of making the noise, I guess, and or I like to torture myself with the small little cuts from the metal. You know what I'm saying? That you get all over yourself. I don't know. I just call me. But it's funny when you start looking at. I've looked at stuff sitting in the road or laying on the side of the road, saying, "Man, that's got a funny bend or curve to it." I'll pick that up, and so
when I was doing my car, I found I had to do some forming with some metal on the floor, and I'm looking through the toolbox, and I found a trailer hitch ball. I'm like, "Ooh,
yes.
This is gonna do it, man!"
Trailer hitch balls.
That moved to the front of the box.
Spring.
Yeah.
I used a broken leaf spring as a T-dolly long before I ever knew what a T-dolly was.
Nice. Yeah.
I have a 2-inch pipe that's got that long with a piece of flat bar welded to the bottom of it, and I use that more than you would believe. Put it in the vise, and it's got the perfect radius for not 9 times out of 10, but a lot of stuff where you're like, how am I going to form this? Oh, yeah. And then you pull out your dolly box, pull that out, put it in the vise, and go to town.
Right.
Yeah, well, I know Ray can add on to this because, like I said, I see a lot of body men, when I'm talking to the body guys in the shop, and I see some of their stuff, and there's always some of the older guys that have some very interesting artifacts that they, use for certain things or to do. They have their block of wood, or they have their rock that they use, and they have, I had a guy one time, he had a broken handle, and he asked if I can get a handle for his, body hammer, and I said, sure. He didn't show me. I just asked him, typically, if I say, do you have, whose hammer do you have, or do you have a snap-on hammer? Because eye of the top of the hammer is a little different. Some are oblong or some are more round. I just need to know, is it round or oblong, and you can make the handle fit. And I bring him a handle the next week and he goes, no, I need a handle like this. And, he had cut one up. And I was like, well, you need to cut this to, because he goes, well, I inherit this from the guy that I worked from. So I don't know what he did, I just want a handle, but he wanted it the way that guy, I was like, well, good luck. You're going to have to make it to have that handle back.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, that handle that he's had his hand for no telling how many hours has a certain feel to it, certain balance, that muscle memory kicks in. You know exactly how to hit it. If you were to put a different handle on that, it'd be dinging that metal all up.
It would be like, he's, he'd be left. If he was right-handed, now he's left-handed. I understand, like I said, that, but he was just shocked, or he didn't understand that a handle comes, you either have the 12 inches or the 18 inches, you know what I'm saying? And he had something, I was like, well, you need to cut this down and you're going to need to do it, that type of thing. So,
I have 3 different hill dollies, and you'd think your hill dollies would all be the same, but all 3 of them are different. One of them I've even ground out a little bit more on this cup and a little bit more on that cup to get it where if I'm really wanting to move something, I know I can grab that one and then pick up the other one and kind of finish it back out. So, same thing with mechanical tools. I've got a drawer full of just modified mechanical tools.
Oh, yeah. Well,
be 3/4 inch wrenches. They're only that long. I got crescent wrench. It's only, cut down to that long for getting those tight fit AC lines that you can't get a regular wrench on. So,
we all have that. I got tons of wrenches that I've either cut, weld, and reshaped. So it's amazing. And then they always talk about, what's new, or what do you have new? And it's like, well, really, the only thing new is what you made.
Yeah.
You still, that's to do some of this work or to get some of those shapes. So.
A couple years back, I had a guy, I don't know what his name is, but he sent me some heck of a hammers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I haven't used them yet because I don't know how to use them, but when I get to working on the Cadillac one day,
I'll send you the Fisher Price hammer set.
No. He got a good set there.
There's a good set here,
the
man.
Fisher Price hammer set from Arco.
Look at that. Man, Brian hooked me up.
Yeah.
So one day I'll learn how to use them, bro.
Did you send them the square-headed shrinking hammer?
No, I don't. No, just the round one.
Is it a shrinking head?
Yeah.
As long as it's a shrinking head, because that Cadillac, Lewis, just put it on the tow dolly and bring it on down.
I might have to, man, because
tell you what, here you go.
It gives me the blues looking at it.
I'm gonna throw this out there because Hank's shop seems to be a little overwhelmed right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you put it behind the bus, come on down, and we can use my shop, and we'll push the roof back up like Arco and I said we'd do 5 years ago.
Hey, we were busy. We couldn't get to it. I understand. But
the tree fell on it, right?
Yeah. And it's dented up in like 4 different spots, and then it buckled a couple spots, broke the back window out.
Damn.
So it's just enough.
Hank, a chunk of 2x4, a porta power, and a case of beer.
I tell you what, I don't remember what it was, this muscle car, and the fender was way out. The front driver fender, way out. Was not, the door was here, the fender was here. Everybody else tried to get it in. He dropped it off, waited for him to leave. I got 2x6, it's about that long, wrapped it in rags. You got a dead blow and went to welding off. You got it beat in, didn't mess anything up. It's just knowing how to hit it, where to hit it, and all that. But that just comes with time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just said the funniest thing is knowing where to hit it. And then the funniest thing is, I've done this on a few things. It's like, oh man, this looks really good. Just one more hit.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right. boom, and the thing just like you hit it with an ugly stick, and it's like, and you're like, what the F did I just do? You know? But it's funny. Like I said, it's I don't have that much. Well, I can't say that, but I have a whole house full of women, and I have a lot of patience. But it needs a lot of. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it, because patience is key with that. Because I hate it, because I get something that's almost there, and then I'm like, man, I'm not going to touch it. And a buddy of mine will come by, and he says, "Oh, you just got to work this a little bit." I said, "Dude, I'm not touching it. You're more than welcome, because I know if I hit this, it's going to be hit with the ugly stick, and it's going to be a mess." So, knowing where
it just comes from time.
Yeah.
All right.
You got to be tenacious on teaching yourself and never being satisfied. You have to keep, trying to push your own limits. So, and until
you
hit
got to do that, but not beat yourself up, because once you start beating yourself up, it takes away your self-confidence.
Yeah.
And then it's a circle thing. You got to keep
and
doing.
it clouds your vision.
Build it up.
It clouds your focus, clouds your vision. You won't be able to think of other ways that might have helped. You can't beat yourself up. You have to go, all right, that didn't work. Let's try this. Or then,
All right.
get it all redone. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. But each time you fail, it's another opportunity to learn.
I looked for this and I found it. This is my buddy TJ, who's a body man. Years ago, I went to his garage. I'm looking at this collection of stuff. These are tools he uses.
That's what I wanted you to. That's what I wanted you to bring up. Right. That's why I said you can elaborate on that.
The black things on the end are hockey pucks. I think one of them is ground flat, and it literally is a rock. And you know,
I still have my hockey pucks. I use them.
So I was like,
look at that broom handle he's using as a slapper.
Yeah,
I guarantee you that's what he's doing with that.
Unbelievable. I know. But
people in the South don't know about hockey pucks.
The guy's a great metal man.
What's a hockey puck?
Yeah.
And the funny part about that is you want me to go in and try to sell him a tool, but he's using rocks and hockey pucks and broom handles to fix cars. And I'm like, hey, I can make your job easier. And he's looking at me like, yeah, it's okay, bud. I'm all right.
Well, he's got the real stuff.
No, I know that, Ray.
He's got the real stuff too, but he definitely, because he started at 14 years old having nothing. So I guess sometimes you got to pick up a rock. I don't know.
It's just funny what you start. I mean, even today, and I mean, I've been away from the dealership scene for over 25 years. But when I go to do something, you still pick your favorite tools. I still pick that 10 millimeter wrench or that ratchet when I have a whole truck full of new ones. But like you said, the feel, the touch, the memory, the smell. The excitement. I'm going too far. I know. I'll stop.
Yeah, you're going a little too far, Brian.
I'll start out with one or two particular hammers and one or two dollies, no matter what I'm doing. Now, by the end of the day, I've got almost every hammer and almost every dolly laying in the floor of the vehicle. But I always start out with the couple that just always feel right most of the time. So,
I can tell you what that rock's for. That rock's for when people bother you. You take the rock and you remove the problem. Yep.
This is Texas. We use 45s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got my pickup truck fixed. I can get it out of the front of the garage. So now I'm going to pull a Cadillac around to the front of the garage and start playing with it.
When's your next road trip, Lewis?
Yeah,
you've been home too long. I'm afraid I might see you on an episode of Live PD or something. There's a lot of shit going on in Ohio,
And it's usually in Youngstown.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out of here.
The family was up at that wildlife place. The zoo, part of the zoo, the wildlife. They were up there last weekend or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get out of here in August.
Oh, August, okay.
Yeah. Tighten up some stuff around here. I gotta fix a couple things and on the house and do adult stuff.
Brian, I guess you never got down to your uncle's place, huh?
No, not yet.
I'm going back in about 3 weeks. Maybe we still got a chance to rendezvous in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know. I talked to my mom, and I'm, again, like I said, I'm not going to really push the issue or whatever. Just see what happens. So work in progress.
Yeah. So I had to dig an old carburetor out of the shed for research purposes, and look what I found, Paul.
What did you find?
The alternator you're looking for.
Oh, yes. Okay.
That's an external regulated Delco alternator.
Yes. Can you get that to Brian? Then I'll pick it up from Brian the next time I'm in the Mid-Atlantic, please.
I probably have a couple more too. Well, we'll have to see. I got a few more. But
So
yeah,
it's just a generator?
it's an alternator.
Okay.
External regulated alternator, GM, mid-60s or early 60s through the early 70s.
Probably rated at 37 amps, if I'm not incorrect.
That's horsepower.
Hold
58
on. 58 or 63 or
Those are the
something
later
like that.
This was off my 65 GTO, so it was probably 37. Let's see if I can see.
No, that's going to probably be a 63.
32 amps.
Oh, wow.
But then again, truthfully, when I did have this on the car, way back when I was working at the auto electric shop, so I probably did rebuild it with a different armature and stator to juice it up to whatever I could. So it probably is around 60 somewhere. But I got to get it back on a test bench.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I'm still looking to get an alternator, generator, starter, bench test machine.
Yeah. Like I said, I could have had one. A guy wanted to get. I had nowhere to put it. I just had no. That's what happens now with this equipment. You just, don't have anywhere to put the damn stuff. I wish I did.
Oh, I'll figure out where to put it. There's 3 pieces of equipment I want, so
I'll
figure out where to put them as soon as I can find them and get them at a fair price.
It's nice to have the space. Yeah, you need the room.
I want to get a distributor machine.
Yeah.
And not spend $3,000 because I'll never recoup $3,000 out of a piece of equipment with a distributor machine. The alternator, starter, or generator machine, but it has to be a vintage one because you can't do positive ground stuff with the modern day equipment.
Yeah. Hank, how big is your shop?
Right now it's 40 by 40. Sometime this year I'm going to add another bay, try to get it 40 by 60, and then I'll probably do one more addition after that.
Nice.
And I've got to learn to quit telling customers yes, go ahead and bring it on over.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that one.
Yeah.
Good luck on that.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to break.
Well, and especially,
my mill lathe.
It's not like you're just doing repair work where it's easy to say no. You're doing stuff where you can look at the car and say, "Wow, I want to dig into that. That's something I want to work on." I'm sure your stuff takes a lot more time than anything that I've.
Yeah, and all the equipment, shear, roller, feed roller, lathe, mill, all that stuff. It takes up a third of the shop. So then the other 2/3 is either parts or cars.
Where
and then it's still kind of on top of each other.
Did you buy your metal equipment new, or did you get it used from other places?
Some of it I got new, some of it I got used. The bead roller and the louver press I got new. The shear, the roller, and mill and the lathe, I just kept my eyes open and got them used. It's pretty good deals.
Yeah.
My name brand, even if it's old. My mill is a 1942 Bridgeport.
Beautiful.
But it runs like a champ. It took me a while to get tuned up.
110 machine? Okay, so it's the small machine.
Wait, no, it's 220.
They're not small. They're not small, but
no,
there's one that's the big machine with the 3-phase 220 motor.
It's 220 single phase. Yeah, it's not that big. And an upgrade I will do on that at some point is I'll put it on a VFD. That way I can really get my speeds dialed down when I want to. But I don't know. That's later on down the road.
Yeah.
But, my lathe is just a little hobby lathe. But I'd like to upgrade.
How did you gain your experience with the mill and machine and the lathe? Is that something you self-taught, or did you have any past experience?
A little bit of both. Working at the Henry Group, a lot of times we'd go out to the field to install some of this stuff, and then it'd be wrong. And you're working up in Chicago, shops down in Greenville, Texas, and you don't really want to ship it back, get it fixed, ship it back up. Well, they all had machine shops and all these bakeries that we worked in, these large industrial scale bakeries. And so you'd be working with a guy that didn't know that much about electrical. You'd teach him electrical, but he may have been a former machinist. He'd teach you that. I also worked in a shop, hot rod shop in Cumbie for a year that just does phenomenal work. And a guy named Benny taught me a lot of machining in there. I mean, I'm by no means a machinist, but I can get myself out of a pickle.
Right.
And that's actually TIG welding. I picked a lot of that up from Hindenburg. Most of their stuff is stainless steel, and you're working in bakeries, so you can't have a lot of trash going around getting food products, so they TIGged everything. So if I needed something while the millwrights were busy, I'd start practicing TIGging before long. It's like everything else. Play with it long if you get them.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's something that we talk about on the show a lot too. I mean, I did have machine shop training. I worked in a machine shop. And that's one thing I think a lot of guys, I mean, it's not for everybody, but just like that conversation with the measuring tools, you can't work in a machine shop unless you know how to use measuring tools. So, and I think a lot of guys, just like a lot of homeowners, would be well served to take a basic carpentry class or a basic electricity class. I think anybody in the automotive field should take some basic machine shop training.
Yes, it saves you a lot of that learning the hard way or learning the wrong way.
Just for safety purposes, just to learn how to do things without killing yourself,
Right.
I can't tell you how many young folks I came across that don't even know how to read tape measure.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many adults I know don't know how to read tape measure. So,
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
and that kind of blows my mind. I grew up from a family of uncles and grandfather who owned cabinet shops, and they were trim carpenters, building high-end cabinets. So you had to measure that stuff down to. At that time, it seemed extraordinary to me, down to like 16th or 32nd,
Yeah.
and that blew my mind. So
Yeah. It's funny. Like I said, I worked in a machine shop, and I could do something down to 100,000th of an inch, but I can't put window casing on a window. I can't woodwork. And I have friends who are finished carpenters. They tell me, with wood, you get it close, kick it in the air, let it fall in. Then you can always trim it or get some wood putty, or you can always make it fit. I was like, dude, I can make metal fit to a close tolerance, but wood, I don't know.
I don't enjoy working with wood. Wood, if you get it too short, it's scrap. Yeah. Metal, you get a little short, run another bead across it, dress it out. So, or put two of them together and cut it again.
It's funny.
But I much prefer working with metal over wood. Yeah. It's not my forte.
But going back on some of your molds, or do you mold with wood, or do you make like, when you're doing something, is it just we're going to lay the piece of metal down and start going, or do you have you?
Are you forming wood bucks?
I don't do too much hammer forming. I do make some wood bucks. Let me stand up for a second.
Yeah, I didn't know what the word was for the proper.
I didn't mean to just jump in.
No. Like I said, I don't think he wasn't. I didn't know if he.
I understood what you were trying to say, and
there you go.
Yeah, there, yeah.
So there's a guy in Dallas that has a 1950 style Schwinn bicycle, and he wanted to make an electric version of it. There's also an old car guy, and he did not want it looking like an electric bicycle. So some instances I will do a wood buck, or I will make something to hammer form with, but that's usually worst case scenario, just because it's so time consuming, because you're doing two processes instead of one. If it's something I can put it in the beater bag and form it, or get started putting it in the beater bag and get on the flashing hammer or get on the wheel or something like that, I usually go straight to that. But if I just see no way around, I will take time to make a buck, or if it's something that just has to be dead nuts the first time, I'll make a buck for that, and then do trial and error with the buck, and then move it to metal.
Do you prefer to work with cold rolled steel at that 20, 22 gauge, 18 to 22 gauge, or do you prefer aluminum, or do you have much experience working with aluminum?
My preference is cold roll 18 gauge, and that's just because it's what I use the most. I'll work with aluminum. When we start getting to thinner stuff, I have to be in the right mindset to TIG it so I don't blow it out. Uh, I can work with aluminum, but my hands and my muscle memory is set more for 18 gauge cold. So I got to kind of tone it down a little bit if I'm playing with aluminum. And I got to know that going into it. So
yeah. Know your metal.
Yeah, I can even do stuff with 16 gauge that a lot of people can't, just because I've done so many floor panels, custom floor panels and stuff. And then you run into a problem, you're like, okay, how do I do this? And, just because the tool rating says 18 gauge, usually you can work 16 gauge with it.
Well, that was leading me to my next question, because especially with like floors and rust. Again, you're Texas. I'm used to the north, but I am seeing some rust down here. Like replacing the floorboard in a 40 Ford or something, and you're doing the floor, and you want to do the channeling, and for me that's 14 gauge. So what are you doing there? Are you just bending it up with the brake and that kind of thing, or you actually trying to work the thicker, heavier stuff and sweating and your hands are all beat up at the end of the day?
Fortunately, most of the stuff I do is either custom with a K or custom with a C. So I can
Both
usually
equal cash.
Yes. Usually I can still work 16 gauge and get enough beats in it and get enough structure in it where you can hop up and down on it and it'll be solid. And worst case scenario, make a little top hat channel go underneath it. So 16 is usually the biggest I'll use. If I'm using 14, it's going to be for something that's really got some structure to it, something that's going to be, getting in the bind. And with 14, I can put it in a roll and I'll shape it, but then I start breaking up the plasma cutter to play with that. As opposed to, putting it in the Beverly shear.
So I got a simple question for you. When you have a pretty good dent, like say in the roof, how do you know where to start? Like, should I stretch it or should I shrink it? Like, where do you start?
It depends on the dent. Usually the dent is caused by it being stretched. So typically try to shrink it a little bit, start easing it out, and then try not to get it. You don't want to shrink it so much to where you can't move it. But at the same time, sometimes you need to kind of stretch the outsides up a little bit and then pop it right out. So
my thought is like, say in my roof, I would go on the inside and knock out the middle of it. Does that sound right?
It depends on how severe the dent is. If it's a minor dent, say size of a roll of electrical tape and not real deep, you can dull it right back out and then kind of feather it in. If it's something that where someone hit it with a sledgehammer and it really stretched the metal, you either got to start shrinking it up really good or even possibly relief cut it and bring it up and then weld the relief cut back in.
Hank, I think he's referring to the oak tree on top of his Cadillac.
Yeah.
That's when you find another Cadillac roof and cut it off and put it on.
I've been looking, man. Every time I find one, like on buy, sell, trade or anywhere, it's sold before I get to it. I'm trying to find a roof where I can just weld it on.
Or just make it convertible.
And
Roadster.
And you can rebuild anything. It just takes time.
Yeah.
So you can rebuild your whole roof. You can rebuild your standards.
Just bring it on down.
I was almost thinking about just pounding it out and then cover it with a vinyl top, but I don't like vinyl top.
Nice thick padded vinyl top.
Yeah, but I don't like it. I want to go I want to do
Just
low
make
rider.
it like
You
the
want to do a
Smokey,
thing on top.
Make it
Yeah, you wanna
Smokey
do
and
it.
the Bandit. Just put the T-tops in it, and you're good.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I thought you were talking about
Remember-
Smokey and Bandit on the cop car after they went underneath the trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yep. I don't know. When I get playing with it, I'll be calling all you guys.
Oh, definitely.
But the last car I painted was I had a 92 Sentra, and I sanded the whole thing down. And I'm sanding this one spot, and I go, there's a lot of Bondo in here. And I'm like, well, and I started chipping it away. And whatever happened to the car before, it got wrecked, and it was just smashed all the way in. And they just Bondoed it up. They didn't bang it back out. They just bonded over it.
Yeah.
I had the whole car sanded, whatever hours that took. I probably spent double the time just fixing that fender, just banging it out, trying to. And I got it. It was still like bumpy, like chicken pox on the side, but it wasn't like a big huge crease and this and that. I'm like, all right, this. I spent so many hours. Like, all right, I'm done. I'll just put a nice layer over it.
Mhm.
And I think
I've done Bondo out of
guy that did
cars.
that, he still got a paycheck at the end of the day.
Oh, the other guy that did it the first,
I've
yeah,
done-
insurance claim, I'm sure.
I've done Bondo out of cars to where they started with newspaper and then started applying Bondo on it. And then the customer brings in, it's cracking a little bit right here. Can you take a look at it? And you just start digging stuff out. You either find newspaper or window screen or aluminum foil or
Yeah.
whatever they had laying around. And then they just mudded over it.
Yeah, when I did, I had a 69 Buick and then a 75 Cutlass. And I did, this is when I was in high school. I didn't have money. I didn't have a welder, and I just used, screen. I just put the screen there, and actually I used the fiberglass. So that's a little bit better, right? I put the fiberglass on there and then got that all, and then I bonded it to get it all smooth. And that lasted for like 3 years until the whole big chunk just came out. And then Brian has a cool story. I don't know if he's going to tell it.
Oh, what on the? Yeah, I had a buddy that had a '72 Cutlass, and we were going down to the Tennessee tri-state area, and he had holes. He had holes, and I said my stuff's not getting wet in the rain, so I got the Sunday paper and fiberglass resin, and laid that all in there, and then painted over top. So it lasts. I mean, it worked. But the funniest part was my cousin had like a '74 Mustang 2, and the whole back end was gone. You know, from like the wheel well down was gone, and she was going to trade it in. And I said, okay, no problem. Well, I know how to fix this because I did, the Cutlass. Got the Sunday paper, the fiberglass resin, dipped them in there, reshaped it all. And it was like that powder puff blue, got some matching paint, sprayed it down. And I said, now you gotta go trade this in. And
Right
she's
now.
like, yeah. And of course now it looked right. It looked halfway decent. It looked good for, and the point. So of course, sure enough, one of the big old chunk of ice on that thing sitting there, pulled that whole thing down. She brings everything in the back of the trunk. Can you put this back on? You did it once before. I said, you were supposed to get rid of this thing, So that was my extent of good body work there, Yeah. So
Yeah.
can't you just put this back on? Big old ice chunk in the trunk and everything with the Sunday paper. Tell you, man. It's crazy what you saw.
And then there was one time I just like metal, just bent it, made it the right size and just screwed it in, and then banged all that in, and then just bonded it.
How classy.
Well, I did the fiberglass and then I bond, I got to do it right.
So, Lewis, since we're going late, I just wanted to mention that, a couple weeks ago we had Harry from Harry's Hot Rods on, from Studio Hot Rods. And he was talking about that movement where he's doing some looking to petition legislators about the certain car issues. And I did sign up and I joined, and this is the t-shirt.
Yeah, it looks good.
One of these. So go to studiohotrods.com. I mean, he asks you for your name and email address, but it's first name only. I mean, it couldn't be any less intrusive.
Right.
First name, email address. He'll send you a thank you. That's about it. He won't send you anything else, no spam or anything. And I recommend joining this movement because he's going to head up the charge, like we were talking about with Texas. If they're leading the show, then take up the charge, and we'll all get behind you. So
Yep.
I think we should support Harry too, because I think he's doing a good thing.
Yep, sure is. All right, well, I'm going to shut the show down. And
I was gonna say I'm calling it a night, fellas. So
all right, Paul, you have a good week, and thanks for recommending Hank.
oh, I got lots of
Appreciate y'all having me on.
recommendations.
Yeah. So Hank, just hold on a second. I'm going to shut down the show, but we have an after show, so you can hang out a little bit.
Okay.
That's where you get to hear Brian's comments.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Okay, everybody. Everybody in the chat, thanks for watching us. And we do this every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. So tell everybody that's in the cars, boats, trucks, or anything you put gas in, we talk about it here on Planet Traffic. And we will see you next Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern.